You want to start with the opening statement?
Yeah, it's good to see everybody again. We'll just use this as the continuation of yesterday's press conference. Not much new since then. We woke up today, we had a good practice, and getting ready to go. Obviously, Miami, a really talented team, and so excited for the opportunity. Questions?
Let's go left side middle to Rob, and then we'll go to Olin.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
So Miami gave up, I think, like 11 sacks this season, and it's pretty much how Carson Beck plays is how the Hurricanes go. So talk about the importance of making him feel uncomfortable and getting to him every play.
Yeah, I think he's an extremely talented quarterback. I think you see that throughout the year. Obviously, he does a really, really good job at delivering the football. They got a really explosive passing attack, different variety of screen, short game, pushing the ball down the field, and I think he delivers it all very well, very accurate. They're very talented at wide receiver, and obviously trying to figure out a way to get that out of rhythm will be critical. Not a lot of teams have been successful doing that, and so have to go to work and come up with a good plan on how to try to create a little bit of indecision for him and at least try to muddy the waters a little bit as best we can.
The right side to Olin from Texags.
Mike, a couple of things. Number one, after the Texas game, you said, I think we were talking about rushing defense, and you said we're going to have to look at what we're asking our guys to do and if they're able to do it. So I was wondering, if you're able to reveal any evaluations that y'all came to.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any evaluations to reveal. I think that's obviously an ongoing conversation that you have as a coach. When you're not doing things at the level you want to see them get done, I think you have to explore it. You can't just point fingers, and so I don't know that there's any like magical revelation to it. I think it's just an ongoing target that we're trying to make sure we pay a lot of attention to.
And then somebody's going to ask you this, so I might as well.
They're great.
Any anticipation on?
They're great.
On Le'Veon or any
Yep,
of the
they're
other
great.
guys?
I knew exactly where we were going with that, and they all appear to be great.
Stay on the right side. We can go to Christy from the AP.
I know you guys have much bigger goals than simply getting to the playoffs, but has there been any moment of reflection or appreciation for, getting the Aggies to the playoffs for the first time, doing something that hasn't been done at this school?
Yeah, no, not really. I think obviously there was excitement yesterday to sit in the watch party and see our name go up on the screen, and that's not, that moment's not lost on the team or on me, but we have aspirations to do a lot more than just sit in a room and see our name get put on a screen, and so I think very quickly it shifted to now we have an opponent, we have a focus. I think you could feel the energy lift. We kind of went right out of there into a team meeting and to get to work on kind of where this thing was going, and so it's obviously it's the first step is getting in, but I think we want to try to do a little bit more than that.
And I know this time of year, football teams are banged up and maybe time off is good, but is there any challenges to not playing for several weeks? Yeah,
for sure. I think you've seen that over the years all the time in like the bowl season and how you handle, the balancing act of keeping your team fresh, keeping your team excited, practicing hard so that you maintain the physicality that you need to and the fundamentals that you need to. I think that's a balance that you spend a lot of time trying to get right. And so we've had that recipe for 4 years now. This is year 4 as a head coach. And so we've tinkered it, we've tweaked it, but I think we've got a pretty good rhythm of what we're trying to get done. And, this morning was great. It was great to get back out on the grass. I think the kids had a lot of energy running around this morning.
One last thing for me. With Cassius.
This is a 3-parter.
I know, sorry.
That's okay.
I got a lot.
That's okay. It's good.
With Cassius Howell and like his journey from, no one at a Power 4 school wanted him out of high school to where he is today. Can you just reflect on his journey and like what he means to your team? Yeah,
I think it's awesome. I think it is. I think, for him to be a kid that we recruited very early on, I've referenced him at times as the OG on this defense because he was one of the first kids to believe and buy into him and Will what we were doing here and what we wanted to be about. I think he came here to grow and develop and challenge himself, and then to see him rise to those challenges where he's on a plane going to an awards banquet as the defensive player of the year in the country, right? It's a phenomenal story. He's a great kid. The work ethic that he has and what he's put into this thing has been awesome. And I know he's excited to try to finish this thing the right way, but it's been a really, really cool journey to see him on.
We'll go to Travis from KBTX in the front.
Hey, Mike. When we heard Colin talk in his press conference up there about kind of how he's delegating his time, as the CEO, do you bring in other guys in the offense to kind of help with some of those preparations? What does that kind of look like moving forward with the offensive side prenow heading into this?
Yeah, I think one, it's probably a lot more collaborative to begin with, and so I don't know that Colin's he's not the only one. Obviously, I think it's a very collaborative process that we go through on offense. I have a ton of confidence in Colin, in who he is as a man and who he is as a competitor, that he'll give the focus and energy that he needs to ensure that this thing is done the right way and finished the right way. And so I have no questions about that. And so I think all in, we'll be able to manage this thing pretty well.
And then in finding the next guy to fill that role, what does that kind of timetable process looks like as you manage everything else that's going on?
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place with it. I think I think our intentions right now are to try to get through the season and let that thing play out. But I think we're in a really good place with knowing which direction we want to go with that.
Okay, on the front right with Carter from 247.
Well, I had my question stolen, so.
Uh-oh. Do you need a breath?
I,
Do you want to trade down?
I might.
You could trade down. How about that? I'll let you trade down a couple. I'll let you trade down a couple questions, and you could reinsert later in the third round.
I'll have to improvise and just panic pick right here.
Okay.
But, we've seen kind of the highs and the lows, way more highs this season with y'all's play. We talk about the first half of South Carolina, second half.
Yeah.
What do you think for a 4-game stretch will need to kind of happen for you guys to be that consistent high that y'all have been at?
Yeah, I think we have to understand the urgency of the moment. I think we have to understand what it takes to focus, play in and play out, and to know that you got to be on the right side of the balancing act. I say this all the time. You can't play tight in the game of football. If you play tight, you're going to get beat because you're not going to play your best. But if you're not aware of the moment and you don't rise your focus level to the moment, then you won't be able to match the intensity you need to play at your best either, right? And that's a really, really fine line balancing act. And I think, again, the more opportunities we get to play in those types of games, the better it is for our program. It'll be great to be back at home in front of the fans at Kyle Field. And, again, it's just another opportunity for us to go out and try to hit it right.
And on the OC discussion, as the co-OC, what was Coach Wiggins' role kind of look like in that role? And then is he kind of part of the consideration for that new role?
Yeah, I probably won't get into the specifics of it all. I got a ton of respect for Holman. I think he does a phenomenal job. Again, no different than when I was a defensive coordinator, and this is to take nothing away from Colin. Colin's phenomenal, but I think sometimes there's a belief that it's a one-man show. It's never a one-man show. As a defensive coordinator, you're only as good as the people around you. As an offensive coordinator, you're at times only as good as the people around you. And obviously, Colin's phenomenal and did a phenomenal job for us. But I also think there's a lot of other really talented coaches in that room, too.
Let's go left side to Alex, and then Aaron, Matthias, et cetera.
More on the OC, do you anticipate the next person in that role running a similar system to what Colin has run and what you guys have run so far these first 2 years?
Yeah, I think if you look at, our program, from the 2 years at Duke to the 2 years at Texas A&M, there's some very strong similarities in terms of what we look like on offense. Those are probably the philosophical things that I would like a Texas A&M football offense to look like. Obviously, every coordinator is going to have their own slant, twist things, and so there's a base part of the fundamental principles that won't go anywhere. And then there's obviously some of the smaller details that they'll be able to put their twist on however they want.
And Marcel said on RG3's podcast that he is planning to return next season. I know you said earlier that you guys have a lot of those draft-type discussions after the season, but I'm curious if you had any kind of conversation with him about next year and how much he may benefit from maybe another season in college.
No, not yet. I think, you don't want to confuse the two. And I think it's one of the challenges. And, for us being in the playoffs, we don't want to get into next year conversations and rock the boat on this year. And so, we want to keep our focus on the main thing, which is right now. And I think that's what we're trying to do to the best of our ability. And so, there's going to be time for those conversations. Hopefully that's sometime after January 20th or so. For now, it's focused on Miami and playing our best football.
Let's go to Aaron on the left.
Hey, Coach. Talking about right now, obviously finishing the game, finishing strong in the second half has been kind of the mentality for the year. And just now that it's playoff time, have you seen kind of a change or like a step up in mentality through practice since the Texas game?
Yeah, we've only been out there once, but yeah, certainly a better urgency as we went through it today. And again, I think part of that is the positive sometimes of a loss is it refocuses and recenters everything. And so I think when you're winning, you talk a lot about what needs to get fixed and changed, and it doesn't always seem to happen at the rate you want it to. Then sometimes when you get slapped in the face a little bit, you kind of have to readjust, and I think that's maybe what will happen from the loss. And so,
Let's go back to TV row, and we'll go with Tyler and then Donna.
Yeah, Mike, you talked about Miami's offense, but on defense, and you talked about how many NFL guys are on this roster. Just what kind of challenges does that defense present, and does it remind you? Is it similar to maybe an opponent you've already played this year?
yeah, no, I try not to draw a lot of similarities. I think it's the best combination of defensive ends that we've seen. In my time here, probably going all the way back to 2018, these two kids can absolutely destroy a game, and they're really, really talented, and then they've got a lot of really big, long, athletic inside bodies. I think they've only given up 79 runs of 4 yards or more in 12 games. So that's unbelievably impressive in terms of how they're controlling the line of scrimmage. And then there's just a lot of length and athleticism in the back two levels of the defense. And so they're really, really talented. I don't think they've given up 20 points in over about a month and a half. And so, it'll be a big challenge for our offense.
Question from Donna in the back.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit earlier with their energy at practice today and being able to kind of turn the page. How pleased are you with their response after facing a little bit of adversity, knowing what they have ahead?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trained for. It's obviously every time it happens, you're excited that it happens, but certainly expected to. I think, and I've said this before, I think the natural reaction to things is usually a little bit different than what everybody anticipates them being. I think the natural reaction to not getting done what you want to get done is usually kind of a new energy, a new intensity, a new focus to improve and get better. And that's just usually how it works in this sport. And so happy to see that from our guys, but certainly anticipated that would be the case.
Left side middle to Matthias, and then Matthew, and then Aiden.
What have you seen from Malachi Toney? And then from a kind of schematic perspective, what kind of difficulties does a guy who they move around the formation kind of present to you?
Yeah, what an unbelievably talented. They move him all around. They're very creative in how to get him the football. He's electric when he gets in his hands. For a young kid, he runs routes exceptionally well. He makes contested catches. And so, yeah, he's an absolute dude of a young player, and certainly will grow into be, a top 5 pick, I'm sure, before this thing's all over. And so, and then when you can't identify where he's going to be all the time, obviously that makes it a lot more challenging for a defense to find ways to leverage him and corral him. And so, certainly have our hands full with him.
Matthew from the Dallas Morning News.
You talked about this being the first step for this team, and you talked a lot this season about creating the mindset with the players that they have the ability to make game-winning plays. What is it like talking to them now that they have the ability to win games in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think it's all the same. I think the magnitude is larger, the process is the same. And so, what it takes from a mentality standpoint is us executing championship level football at the rate we need to be successful. That's regardless of who, when, how you play the game of football. Obviously, the challenge is the opponent makes it a lot more challenging. The magnitude of the game makes it a lot more challenging. The finality of it all makes it a lot more challenging. And so it's controlling all of that and still focusing on the things that ultimately will matter when it comes to being successful. And so, again, we've been in this stage quite a few times since I've been here. We've had our successes, we've had our failures. It's exciting to get out there and get another opportunity to play a big football game.
Left side to Aiden from Student Radio.
So one of the major concerns with this past game was special teams. The field goal percentage for this season was the lowest since 2012. What is that conversation going to look like for y'all on deciding kicking duties for this next game going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we'll make that decision when the time is right. I think trying to do the best we can to get both of those guys into a place where they're capable of performing at the level they're capable of performing at. And certainly both of them want to go out there and be very, very successful. And so we'll kind of see what that looks like here through the next couple weeks.
Did I miss any questions? Let's go back to Cease on the left side from the Eagle.
You mentioned, Coach, you got to play, Mike, got to play 4 good games, not tight, so to speak. When you look back at the Texas game, did you think some of the players played tight, or was that just a product when a rivalry game is maybe a little bit different than any other game?
Yeah, I think it's just a product of playing good football teams. I think at the end of the day, they made more plays than we did in the second half, and there's a lot of reasons for that from our end. But at the end of the day, that's going to happen at times when you play in this league and you play night games on the road in this league. It's just part of it, and so. It sucks the magnitude of it. It sucks that it happened against those guys, but I think sometimes you just have to understand that it's going to happen a little bit in this conference.
Let's wrap it up with Alex from the Eagle.
We've talked about move and calendar dates and whatnot, but if this was a year ago, the transfer portal would have opened tomorrow. Now it's not going to be open until, the first week of January? I'm curious now that it's here, what your perspective is on how that kind of unfolds as you guys are preparing for a playoff game.
Yeah, I feel like what we're in is the best we can get. I really do. I feel like the windows that we have, the way they're set up right now, it's the best we can get. Everybody will continue to point out all of the fallacies within the system, but there's not really a solution. Again, I've said this on multiple occasions, but when you talk about what we're actually trying to balance, which is a TV contract that mandates games be played at a certain time, in conjunction with academic calendars, in conjunction with 2 different types of recruiting, right, high school and transfers, to try to find a window to make all of that work is not ideal. And again, I don't know how well we actually study sometimes the reality of the world that we're actually living in. And so, for years there have been coaching changes going on in the NFL while the playoffs were going on. The beauty of it is it hasn't happened within the teams that are currently playing, right? That's just a different structure that we have. You can't change free agency windows in college football because you have semesters, and when the semesters start is critical. And so I just think we're binded by a lot of things that we can't fix and can't control. And so from my perspective, I think this is about as good as we could ask for.
All right,
Good.
One more.
Okay.
Get a mic over to him.
Do you feel an 11 a.m. game kick is an advantage to the home team or not?
Nah, not really. I think playing in Kyle Field is an advantage to the home team. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see our students turn out. I'm excited to see our fans turn out. It'll be really cool to see that number post on the screen with how many people showed up for an 11 a.m. kick, because I still think that's what makes college football unique here at Texas A&M. And so I think that more than anything. Awesome.
All right,
Thank you,
a wrap.
guys.